Welcome to the Sports Wrap Mother's Day weekend. I'll say it again. Happy Mother's Day to all the ladies in my life, my daughters, and my wife, and of course my mom. And we were just talking about, if we didn't get this first part of it, we were talking about music in the morning and Kiss, and what have you been listening to in the solarium?
On Friday, they send me out my playlist.
Okay.
And this is for me, and they take it off of all the music I've listened to. And I come to find last night that one of my favorite rock and roll bands, Little Feat, put out a brand new album.
Wow.
And so this slipped on, and I caught that, and I thought, is this a new album? My daughter came in from Onemia, and she walked into the solarium, and Little Feat was just rocking and rolling. I had a hockey game on, and you know, I had my notebook, and I'd taken some notes, and I says, I just love Fridays, and I do. They're
So when did Little Feat get started? I mean, are they like 50 years old, 60 years old?
They started in the 70s. And I think I have their initial album that's you can hardly ever hear it, but I got the album because I found it somewhere. But I think that was 1972.
Wow.
And this was founded by a guy named Lowell George and a piano player named Bill Payne. And they play New Orleans, Southern blues, Southern rock, but they're all from California. Oh. And so it's like California.
Well, makes total sense.
Yeah, but Bill Payne and he's still working. Lowell George, he had a serious weakness, and he called that China White, but he was a heroin addict, and it finally killed him. Bill Payne is just an incredible pianist, and he just bangs those keys. So last night I had him cranked up. Little Feat has lost a couple of people, but they've made such great music that everybody wants to play it. So I got a brand new album from Little Feat. So that's what I was cranking to last night. It was a lot of fun.
And your daughter came home.
My daughter came home. She says she's deparenting.
She came by herself.
She came by herself.
Wow.
And so
on Mother's Day weekend, she deparented herself.
She parented, and she's got this big smile on her face. I tell you, it's
so
one of those.
she's going out with the ladies.
Well, she's going somewhere. But it's one of those things where, and you have daughters. It's so nice to have your daughter at home. When kids are growing up and they start going out at night and stuff like that, you don't sleep until they come into the house. And I found that, although she's many years past that now, I sleep better when I know where she's at. She's right in the room right there, and so it's always good to have your daughter at home.
Yeah, Anna came home this weekend, of course, to see Mom, and the ladies are going flower shopping this morning.
Oh.
So anyway, having said that, of course, I don't know if I mentioned that Anna was in Australia, so this is the first time we've seen her since she got back from down under.
Australia. Oh, right. I bet you she's got a lot of stories to tell about that.
Lots of stories, and she's got gifts that she wants to give out and whatever else. Yeah. But yeah. Well, should we talk about the Timberwolves, or should we call them the Werewolves? I decided this morning that they're more like the Werewolves because you don't know you don't know who's going to show up, whether it's going to be the ravenous beast or the guys.
I tell you what, it's one of those things where we count on Anthony Edwards to do so much. And Anthony Edwards, he sprained his ankle in 2 successive games, and that has slowed him down a little bit. Here we have Jaden McDaniels had a great game last night. Come out that did 7 for 10 and wound up with 16 points and off the bench. And then Naz Reid, he kept up. And Nikhil McDaniels, he's been outside of himself. And when we talk about my number one player these days is Julius Randle.
He's found a different gear.
He's found a different gear, and he is so physical. And he's not taller than anybody out there. I don't know, what is he, 6'9", 6'10", maybe. But he's not overly. But he is tough, and he will put a shoulder into you. And so he's an awful lot of fun.
I found it interesting that in the Star Tribune they talked about after he came off of his injury.
Yeah.
You might recall, I sat in this chair 3 months ago and said, are the Wolves better off without Julius Randle? Because they were starting to play better ball when he got injured.
Yeah.
And when he's going to come back, how is that going to affect the team? Well, it affected the team in a very positive way because even he said, I got to watch this team and understood that what I was doing before the injury wasn't helping the team, that I had to play differently. And they asked him to play point forward a lot, and dribble the ball up the floor, start the offense. Mike Conley has, I don't want to say disappeared, but hasn't. I mean, he's there.
He had a lot of energy the last 2 games, and so I'm looking at Mike Conley as kind of renovating himself. And,
exactly. I think he's understood that he's got to have a different role with this team, and I think So keep going.
And Alexander Walker, he drilled in 16 points, again off the bench, and and then the other guy that I mean, you can't not mention him, and that's Deontay DiVincenzo. He is incredible effort at all times. He's hitting the boards. He's picking up scraps. I
didn't realize that he had played for Golden State once upon a day.
Oh, he did, yeah.
I did not know that. Not that I keep track of where everybody plays, because how can you keep track of where some of these journeymen have played? Unless they're the superstars, they probably played for 4 or 5 teams. So. And
then, of course, my good friend Naz Reid. You don't know when he's going to. I mean, he's 6'11", 7 feet tall, and he's got that beautiful 3-point jumper. And these guys, when they square away and have a moment to square up to that basket, it's going in. And
it's rare that it doesn't go in.
On top of that, Golden State does not have Stephon Curry anymore, and I don't know, he's not going to play today. And
they figure not till at least game 5.
At least game 5.
And the way he talked he's not even sure then.
He's not even sure then.
So and you know how hamstrings don't heal. I mean, you coached for a long time and know that. I don't know. Again, it comes back to the bench. You mentioned a lot of the guys on the bench coming off the bench. I hate to say it, but that is probably the strength of this team right now. And I think early in the season we didn't know how deep this team could go, but right now they play such tough defense.
Yeah.
Game 1 was, I hope that game that you kick to the curb, you throw away, whatever. I think Chris Finch called the team out a little bit, and they responded. But you can't. How many times can you go to the whip? And I'm being as serious as I can about that, because how many times can you pull them in and chew them out and whatever else? And they talked about watching the game after game 1. They watched film and they saw how bad they played and the things that they were doing wrong, and they fixed them. And so that's the whole thing about a 7-game series, is now Golden State's going to come back and say, well, we need to do this to slow this part of this down. So it'll be an interesting game tonight.
I watched the last couple games with the Lakers, and they wore the Lakers out. The last game, they wore Golden State out. The Warriors just...
And I think the Warriors, without Steph Curry, that one extra body, and I hate to say it that way, Steph Curry's a great player.
Yeah.
But it's just that all of a sudden you got to bring somebody off the bench, and now you can wear Jimmy Butler down and Draymond Green and Bobby Hield, who I forgot that he even played in the league. I hate to say it till a couple of weeks ago. So, no, this is... they said this on KQ the other morning. It would be a dirty, rotten shame. It is a dirty, rotten shame that Steph Curry got hurt, because you want to beat the team when they're full strength.
Yeah.
But he said it would be a dirty, rotten shame if the Wolves don't win this series, because Steph Curry is out and they need to take full advantage of this opportunity.
We were talking about 6 or 7 games. I think this series is going to end in 5.
I think that it's over.
Yeah. So we'll watch tonight, but there will be screaming in between rock and roll hits out of the Solarium today. And the next game, but the one I'm really looking forward to, the Knicks and the Celtics.
What's going on with the Celtics?
Well, I'm not sure what's going on.
They get a 20-point lead, and they turn the engine off and put her in coast.
I'm not quite sure, but I'll tell you what, they're going to Madison Square Garden, and right now The tickets are going for, you won't believe this, $109,000. See, I'm going to watch it on TV and save that 109. Other than that, if I was in New York, I'd cough. No, I mean, it's amazing.
This might be very reactionary to what's going on, and the fact that the initial series in the Eastern Conference, the Knicks had to go 6. They're the only one that had to go 6 to win it. But right now, if I was going to go lay my money down out in Vegas, I'd put my money on the Knicks right now. They're scary. They're on a roll. They don't think that they can lose. I mean, they go into Boston, like I said, down 20 in both Game 1 and Game 2 and win in dramatic fashion.
Our good friend Karl Anthony Towns, he's doing he's playing very, very well, and it's.
Okay, so let's broach that subject again, because not that I want to, but was it a win-win trade?
Yes.
Okay.
As far as I see right now, we got Randall and DiCincenzo out of that bunch.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, Cat was a good player, and it's just like Dallas sending Doncic away and everything else. Sometimes it's like I said, we traded away a very good player, and some people might say great player, but you hope that you get great players in return, right?
Yeah, that's it.
And so you look to see what's best, and I think would it not be prophetic or poetic or something at the end if the Wolves and the Knicks were playing for the NBA championship?
I'm going to tell you the other game that I kept an eye on last night was Oklahoma and Denver.
I can't figure this series out.
I can't either, but I'm going to tell you right now, Chet Holmgren, if we ever thought that he wasn't strong enough to play in the NBA, nobody can catch him. He takes 2 steps and he's gone. Anybody that's 7'1" and that can drive to the basket like the way he does and finish the way he does.
Well, I think that's where Julius Randle gets his. He's so long he can put the ball on the floor. He's tough.
He's tough, and I noticed from the corner one time last night, Holmgren was sitting right on the corner. They come out to cover him. He put one little fake, 2 steps, and he's at the basket and reversed
layup.
Yeah, no, and it's just like, oh, you are pretty good, and so he is driving. But Oklahoma has the youngest team since the 70s or something. Portland Trailblazers, I think, whenever they won the last time.
77.
77. But this is the youngest team in the league right now, and they are playing pretty well. But the Nuggets beat them last night.
The Nuggets won last night to go up 2-1, and that's why I say here's the team that won 67 games, whatever it was, 67 I think it was, and everybody's saying, well, they're the team to beat, and now here come the former champions with their new coach, et cetera, and up 2-1, playing at home, Denver again tomorrow. Scary stuff, interesting stuff, and this might be stupid, but I would rather see the Wolves get to play Denver than to play Oklahoma City.
Oh, I would too.
I mean, somehow, some way, we have something with Denver right now that we can. I think we can take advantage of.
We match up better with them, and so
even though Nikola Jokic is a beast.
He is a beast.
He's 7 foot tall and can do all those things, and he doesn't do it. He's not fast. Okay, he doesn't, and I don't want to say he's not quick. But he's such a bull, and he can shoot the ball from everywhere, and he's 7 feet tall, and he gets rebounds.
He's got to weigh 280 pounds if he's a pound, and he can shoot the ball so well.
He's a matchup nightmare, I guess.
He is a matchup nightmare. So we'll see what happens there. But I tell you, there's 2 good games going on today, and I will pay attention to that.
Cleveland, Indiana, we haven't mentioned them. 3 games, nobody's won at home.
Nobody's won at home.
What? Yeah. What's so much for home court advantage?
But Indiana, I thought that they were going to get blown out of this one, and there are no blowouts after that first round.
No, and this is, Cleveland and OKC and Boston. I'll be honest, those 3 teams looked like they were invincible on a freight train to meet each other in the finals. Indiana can win this series, no doubt about it, against the Cavaliers. But again, I still go back to the Knicks in the East, and man, I don't know what's going to happen in the West.
I don't know what's going to happen in the West either, but I do know that people in New York and people in Boston, when it comes to sports, they don't care for each other. And so there is energy going on. The Madison Square Garden is going to be incredibly loud, and there'll be energy pouring out of that place. This goes back to the 70s and you know, Wes Unseld and all the rest of that
How about back
stuff.
to Babe Ruth? All starts then, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and not in the proximity. Well, I want to move on to hockey.
Let's try a little hockey here.
Man, there's a lot of interesting series, lots of things. 2 games today at 5 o'clock, Washington and Carolina, tied at 1. I hate to say it, this thing's going 7. In my mind, it's just the way it's going to be. Carolina always is tough in the playoffs, and Washington, of course, had the best record in the East, and this is going to be good stuff.
Well, you know, and when you take a look at this, Toronto and Florida.
2-1, Florida, comes back. I shouldn't say comes back. Wins last night. Comes back in the series in overtime. Another series that I think is going 7. I think it's going to be a tough one. I think Toronto should win the series, but Florida's got that
Tkachuk.
That Tkachuk person, and they got, they're the defending champions, and they seem to, just like Carolina, turn it on in the playoffs. Again, this wouldn't shock me if this would end up Florida, Carolina in the Eastern Conference.
Well,
but
but Washington's in there. They're 1-1. The third game is tonight at 6:30. So we'll see what happens from there. But you've got to be a little bit surprised that Washington's even in this mix and playing as well as they are.
Yeah, I think like I said, you got Alex Ovechkin, and you never know what can happen. Edmonton goes into Vegas, wins twice.
Yep.
Heading home to play at 8 o'clock tonight or 8 whatever. By the time they get done doing all the pregame stuff, it's a dirty, rotten, crying shame that the Wild could not find a way to beat Vegas in those last 3 games, lose 3-2 in all 3 games. Edmonton might sweep this series.
They might.
They might win it in 4 and be sitting around. The Stars and the Jets 1-1. Winnipeg wins last night 4-0 at home.
And I'm telling you right now,
I mean, Colorado and Minnesota are both out of it. And Colorado's just et cetera, et cetera. That just, I guess, shows you how competitive things are. You know what I mean? It just, the Star Tribune, I finally got caught up reading the papers the other day, and they talked about the fact that it was the ninth consecutive time that the Wild have lost a series. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hard to fathom, because they've been in the playoffs 11 out of the last 13 seasons. That's the most of any team in the NHL. But that means they've never made it to the next round. And Colorado probably had a decent chance to be playing in the Western Conference Finals as anybody, and they're sitting at home in the same place that the Wild are.
I think one of the things I find a little bit frustrating is I know how much talent is on that Wild team, and they have one line, Eriksson Ek and Boldy and Kaprizov. That's as good a line as there is in hockey right now, and it's just doesn't seem to be enough. And it's
going to be different.
It's going to be different
with the money. The what is it? I don't even know. 12 million, 14 million, whatever it is that they're going to get back from the Parise and Suter thing. They're going to go out and find somebody that can put the biscuit in the basket. Somebody knows. That's sitting out there, that's a free agent, knows Minnesota's got a ton of money that they are willing to spend. How much of that can I get?
And what's been 5 years since they've been able to spend it? It's been a long
4 years.
4 years. It's been a long time.
So, still agree with Bill Guerin's decision to buy him out. It was the right decision.
It was.
People might disagree with that, but anyway. Have you been watching the Frost at all, the women's playoffs?
You know, I caught the last game that they who they played.
They're playing Toronto. Well, they played Boston to get into the playoffs.
Get in the playoff.
Kicked the crap out of them 8-1 to make sure they got in.
They were underdogs going into that, so it's.
They were, so they're 1-1. They play Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. Coming back home to the X. Pretty soon we're going to have to call it the TI because Treasure Island report. The XL has paid their 25 years and they're getting out of it. So we're not going to be able to call it the X anymore. The rumor is it's going to be Treasure Island.
I'm still calling it the Civic Center, so you know, I'm that far.
That's sad.
And in fact, I think I even heard that come out of you one time.
Well,
and it's
we
like,
talked about the Civic Center last week at the Hall of Fame. So no, it'll probably always be the X, even after it becomes Treasure Island Center or Treasure Island Arena or whatever they're going to call it. It'll still be it'll still be the X.
Well, as long as we're hitting on hockey here, how do you feel about the Hockey Hall of Fame winding up in St. Paul?
Is that a fun? Did that get decided officially?
No, but there are an awful lot of very upset Rangers about that, and it's you know, and
I hate to say it, it's a money decision. I don't want to get anybody upset. I've been to the Hockey Hall of Fame a couple of times. Would I go to it more if it was in St. Paul? No. But I think there'd be a lot of other people who would, because you would get the fan that comes in from Chicago to watch the Blackhawks, or the Bruin fan that comes in from Boston to watch the Bruins. They're going to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame. They're not going to go to the Hockey Hall of Fame if they come to St. Paul to watch the Bruins and going to drive all the way to Evelyn.
No, that's not going to happen unless you're going fishing in Canada. You're not even going to go by the place.
Yeah.
And the fact of it is that they put 18,000 people into that arena to watch hockey. They would have access to that Hall of Fame, and I can understand their point.
I can understand their point. And then the point that some of the Rangers and people who want it left in Evelyn, and like I get this, Canton, Ohio, and obviously the NFL was in Canton, Ohio, but the Pro Football Hall of Fame is in Canton, where it's not what I would call a major city, close to Cleveland. Okay, you got Cooperstown, New York.
Couldn't find it on a map.
I mean, I drove up there and I'm like, holy crap, this is where the Baseball Hall of Fame is at. I've never been to the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, but that's in Springfield, Massachusetts. Well, there's no professional. I mean, it's not a big city, so there is this part about it being the small one, and of course, you know, the NHL or the Professional Hockey Hall of Fame is in Toronto, and I think that's kind of where this is all happening. I think Minnesota, some people in Minnesota don't want to lose it to someplace else, and I don't think it ever would leave Minnesota just because we are the quote-unquote the state of hockey. But I understand the arguments to move it to St. Paul. I understand the arguments to leave it right there in good old Evelyn. I will be, I hate to say it, I will be indifferent on whatever decision they make. I understand both sides of it.
I heard one compromise that sounded pretty interesting. Turn the Evelyn Hall of Fame into the high school hockey Hall of Fame. Because that's kind of where it started.
True.
You know,
True.
And when I walk through the Hall of Fame like you, and I go by the 60s, I know and have known quite a few of those people, and you know, so as long as they're there and they can see all the great teams that have come from Evelyn, the Falls, Bluethies, what can I say, and Rose, all of it. That is, you know, they've had great hockey, and so maybe that's something that they could compromise on.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and of course, the more of those things that go away from the range, the less people that come to the range. I mean, it's.
And of course, there's a lot of politicians involved in this right now because.
And they shouldn't be. And they shouldn't be.
I keep on thinking, how many phone calls and emails do they get? And it's just. You know, and the Rangers are pretty protective of their turf. So
yeah, and like I said, I get it. I get the whole idea of it staying right where it's at, but I also understand what did they say that it seemed like there was they had 9,000 visitors last year Well, think about that. This is the United States Hockey Hall of Fame, and they had 9,000 visitors.
Yeah.
I would assume that if it was in St. Paul, that they would get 9,000 visitors per month.
Yeah, at least. And when playoffs are going on and there's high energy, high school hockey. I mean, Minnesota is the state of hockey. There's no two ways about it, although I've had other coaches say that it's a basketball state, it's a football state. I contend it's a wrestling state. So we all have our favorite sports, but
I would say those sports are catching up with hockey.
I think they are too. Yeah.
Want to talk about your Twins?
Let's talk about the Twins.
What the f is going on? They're almost 500.
They're 6 in a row. They're 18-20. I mean, if you take a look at this, I got some good notes. Oh, here they are. 19-20. They're 7 games out. Now,
I think I know where you're going. So go ahead and let her rip.
Brian Buxton. This is the best I've ever seen him play. This is the best anybody's ever seen him play.
So why? What's all of a sudden clicked?
I don't know, but I saw this throw from center field, 95 mile an hour to the plate, and hit him out, and I thought, I couldn't do that. And I don't know a lot of people that can. Or I see him a week or so ago making an incredible catch, a
diving catch to save the game.
Ordinarily, that would have put him out. He's hit 3 home runs in the last week. He right now is he's my superstar, and I've never thought that I'd be saying that. We wanted to get rid of him a year or so ago, and
I'll admit, yeah, I was right there. I found it interesting that Correa has got he's batting 356 over the last 11 games or something like that. And the Star Tribune writers are still after him because he's not doing enough. And I'm just like, even early, and I've said this a couple shows ago, I think, even early in the season when his batting average was in the 180 area, he was still scolding the ball, hitting the ball hard, and I know you hope to whatever, but the exit velocity, the exit velo off of his bat was incredible for some of the outs that he was making, hitting it right at people. That's baseball. That happens. He's an easy target because he's supposed to be leading this team to the promised land, and he still might. The scary part about the Twins is you said that they're 19-20, they're 7 games out. The 3 teams that have the most wins in the American League, Detroit, Cleveland, and Kansas City, all ahead of the Twins with 26, 24, and 23 wins. The Yankees only have 22. See Babe Glumack the next time you see him. He goes, I can't believe that they're still in first place. They are a bad baseball team. They're playing horrible baseball. He says, but Tim, they're still in first place. He said, I don't know how. They're horrible.
Wow.
And he says, it kills me to even say that, but he says they're bad. Anyway, the Twins are playing right now in the best division, minus the NL West in the...
And keep in mind, the other guy in that division is the Chicago White Sox, and they have a #1 fan at the Vatican. And so,
They had a video of him at the game in the World Series in 2005. He got on TV. Somebody went back and found this video. How did they find this? How did they get... Anyway, they showed him on TV, and I'm just like... Wow,
as they say, da Pope. And so the people in Chicago right now are still giggling. They're going to giggle for quite a while. And the White Sox
the Bull music, him walking out to the Bull music, the super fans, I can't wait to see the NSNL skit in October because there's got to be one coming. I mean, I understand that those guys are some of them are gone, but they're going to find a way to do something for them.
I'm hearing these people from Chicago, and they kind of think like next week he's going to come home and do a home tour. And the thing is about Pope Leo. He apparently he's a pope for the world, not just Chicago.
Not just Chicago.
So they get that down. It's going to be fantastic.
If you want to go look at it. NFL Memes was the site or the place on X, and they got him coming out, and he's doing his thing, and he's got his arms folded, and you can see that then he starts talking, and he goes, I wish peace to the world, except to the people in Green Bay. You have enough Super Bowls, you can go yourself. I I told Eli, I said, this is sacrilege. I said, I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it was so hilarious. I didn't expect that that's where it was going to go, because it was the day he got elected. It was that night somebody had really gotten whatever, but told the Packer fans that they can go. Yeah, it was.
I've been through a lot of popes for my age, but the fact of it is that they were all European popes, directly or indirectly. Even Pope Francis was Italian by birth and Argentinian by choice, but I know that Pope Leo, he's an American. I can tell. He looks American. He talks American. He's an all-American boy.
I'm at work the other day, and up on my emails, I get a post that says, or a notification or whatever, a pope's been elected, and I'm like, I was like, great, they got her done in a hurry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and I'm like, I probably should go look, but I was knee deep in the muck and mire of getting the things done, and I'm like, I don't have time to look even to see who it is. And I get a text message from a guy that I graded calc papers with, and he says, you got a new pope, or we have a new pope, and he's an American, and he's from Chicago. And he's from Chicago, and he's like, you think he's a Cubs fan? And that guy said, I hope not. I said that.
South Chicago.
So he's a White Sox fan.
And, and I spent at least some time in South Chicago back in the old days, and I would frequent blues saloons, and I never one time saw Cardinal, whatever his name there.
Bob.
And I was hanging out with my friend Robert, and I says, "Oh my God, now we got a Pope Bob." It was only a matter of time. There's a lot of Roberts out there, so that was only. But there's so much energy involved in this, and when you take a look at the square at St. Peter's, and it really is quite a marvelous place. I look upon the Vatican as the remnants of the Roman Empire, and literally it is.
Sure.
And you see that coming up there, and you see the millions of people that come there to walk through the Sistine Chapel, and I watched them all through, and I says, I appreciated being in the Sistine Chapel while I was there, but never as much as I do right at this moment.
Sure.
It was quite marvelous.
Well, we came home from whatever we were doing the other day, and it was on TV, the replay of the whole business, kind of the whole business. We caught I shouldn't say the tail end of it. It took almost an hour when we were watching it on replay, Eli and I. And so I was explaining to him about what's happening, and so he kind of understood things because he's 10, and it's good to be explained those things. And then he said, what a church, what a square, what a whatever. I said, well, George Frake's been there. What? George has been there. I said, well, anytime you want to talk about going to the Vatican, I'm sure George would love to chat with you about it. He's like, oh my gosh, he was just, oh man, he was. So anyway, we were talking about the Swiss Guard as they were walking out, and the bands and the whole pomp and circumstance of the situation. And for 10, he was bought in. He was watching it, and I thought that was pretty cool.
The whole thing is a remarkable piece of humanity, and it's the historical significance of this whole deal just absolutely gives me goosebumps. And so
I don't think I think people always said you'll never see an American pope, never.
Yeah.
And of course they basically said it would always come from Europe, and so now I think about this. I can't remember, and honestly I don't remember if Pope John Paul I was Italian. I don't remember.
It's been 60 years since there was an Italian pope.
Yeah. So you start thinking about it. They went Poland, and then they went
German,
and Argentinian, and the whole 9 yards. And you start thinking things have really gone worldwide. And Pope Francis, they talked about the fact that sorry to get off the sports topic here if you're not into the whole Catholic thing, but the fact that he named 108 of the voting 133 popes, and he was naming popes from countries that had never cardinals, naming cardinals, not naming popes, naming cardinals that were going to vote for the pope from countries that had never had cardinals before.
Well, I was in Italy. I guess it would be about 8 years ago, going on 9 years. To say they, I hate to use the term, worshipped him, but they did. They call him Francisco. They had. I did not walk into a shop or anything else that didn't have numerous pictures of the Pope hanging from the wall. They loved him. They loved the fact he was Italian. They didn't worry about whether or not he come from Argentina. They just loved the guy. And you know, for the first time, we looked upon a Pope as actually being a man with views, with intellect, with a feeling for what was going on in humanity around him. He was a rare kind, and he did one other thing politically. He stacked that court. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and I do not think that that Pope Leo is going to disappoint.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. No doubt about that.
Anyway, we didn't get mind to add that.
Eli was amazed that the people were crying. I said, "This is for some people. This is a huge deal." And it was. I mean, look at the crowd waiting around because this went only 2 days, but it could have gone on for a week. For all we know,
13, 14. Votes. So this could have gone, and you don't know. I mean, you've talked to this about the Catholic Church. It's very political. There are a lot of things going on. We don't notice it because they. I mean, if you told somebody how you voted in there, you get excommunicated. That doesn't sound good, And so it was really pretty much an amazing thing. I've been around for a long time. I've seen a lot of popes come and go, but this time it kind of hit me. It really did.
I was going to ask you if you watched the horse race last Saturday, but I know that you watched the horse race last Saturday.
I watched it with you
because we watched it on my phone together.
Yeah.
Sovereignty who has decided not to race at the Preakness, which is becoming the more popular decision. I'm not exactly sure. I understand why you run at the Kentucky Derby, because the Kentucky Derby is the fastest 2 minutes in sports, blah, 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 blah. I don't understand, if you're going to go run and win the Kentucky Derby, why would you not want to go run your horse at the Preakness 2 weeks later to try to think about what it means in horse racing to win the Triple Crown. I mean, not that this horse is ever not going to have the stud fees or whatever that Sovereignty is going to have because it won the Kentucky Derby, but if you become a Triple Crown winner and win the Preakness in the Belmont, all of a sudden your stock goes through the roof. I guess it's kind of like winning the first round of the playoff series of any major sport, and then say, we don't want to win the championship. We don't want to win the big one.
Wow.
So we're just going to skip. We're not going to.
The Triple Crown has been won numerous times. Nobody has won it in the fashion that Secretariat ran it. I mean, he walked away from every horse in this Kentucky Derby is a relative of Secretariat.
Has some sort of
some sort of thing.
Yeah.
So did he set the standard? Apparently, and it's.
And whether Sovereignty would have won the Triple Crown, do you put it in Secretariat? I mean, Secretariat was a different animal, literally. But I don't know. I guess I just don't get it. If you win it, it almost should be like, if you win the Kentucky Derby, you have to run the Preakness because we're trying.
If there's an injury, you should go. I agree. Yeah. This is what people go to watch. If he was running for the second crown of the Triple Crown, everybody would be watching. Now it's kind of a yawner, and so I agree.
We kind of got off the baseball, the Twins train when we brought up Pope Leo. That's how things went. What the heck is wrong with the Orioles?
I don't know. They really turned.
They're in last place.
They are, and last year they were fighting for the pennant, and it's I'm not quite sure just exactly what's gone on, but they all of a sudden I'm not fearful of the Orioles anymore.
Yeah, Pittsburgh fired Derek Shelton this week, who left the Twins in 2019 after the 2019 season to become the manager, lasted 6 seasons, and they basically said we got to make a change, and so things are already happening. Uncle Paul and I had been talking about the fact that Rocco Baldelli may not make the end of April, has won 6 in a row now and had a 5-game winning streak prior to that. he said to me last night, contract extension?
Yeah.
And I'm like, can we, I don't want to quite go that far. But having said that, obviously the Orioles right now are not a very good baseball team. The Angels aren't a very good baseball team. Chicago White Sox, who were before that, not a very good baseball team. Obviously, the Twins played Cleveland and Boston in between there. That Cleveland series. That Cleveland series is going to come back to haunt them. They had a chance to win all 3 of the games that they lost and didn't win them and kind of lost them in bad fashion. I hope that those 3 games don't end up costing them
and
something.
Last night, Chris Paddock, he was perfect for 17 batters.
It's not too shabby.
No, and if he keeps on pitching like that,
anywhere close to
that, and Joe Ryan is chucking pretty good. If they can get that starting rotation, so they're not down 4 and 5 runs going in the second and third innings, and so.
And the bats have come to life a little bit.
And the bats have come to life. So I'm gonna watch the Twins. Just because I'm going to watch Byron Buxton and Royce Lewis is back and Ty French is, I don't know, Ty French is kind of an amazing athlete in his own way.
He's done his thing over there.
He's done his thing over there. So
I
think that team, they're healthy right now. They're playing a good baseball. Let's see if they can extend this a little bit. I'm kind of surprised they're knocking off the Giants out there in. It's not Candlestick anymore?
Not Candlestick. It's not even Pac Bell. I don't. Old commit. Anyway. Let's like I said, let's hope that they can keep it going.
Yeah.
The Loons. Possibly their biggest.
Is Lionel going to play?
Is Lionel going to play? That is the question. And if he doesn't play, the Minnesota. I told Eli that May 10th. That Lionel Messi was coming to Minnesota to play soccer. And he said, can we go? And I said, I don't know if we'll be able to afford the tickets. Because I am sure it is absolutely nuts to try to get a ticket. It was going to be nuts to get a ticket, but I'm sure if you try to buy one on StubHub or wherever on a resale, I would guess that we're talking $400 or $500 a piece. And that's probably in the upper, not that there's a bad seat. If you've ever been to Allianz Field, there's no bad seats in the place. It holds only 20,000+, right around 20,000. And there's no bad seat in the place, but I can only imagine what the price of the tickets were. I basically told him, I think in December, that there was no way we would even think about going. He loves Lionel Messi, and
this is the thing. I was talking to a woman who had a son who was 8 years old, I think yesterday, and she's all buying him presents. As long as it's Messi, she is good to go. And here he is, 8 years old. He lives in Portland, Oregon, but they know about Lionel Messi, and so that kind of draw. It's a moneymaker, and he's a very fine soccer player.
He's a good soccer player.
Yeah, so it's
he's getting old, but he still can whatever. Yeah, it'd be great to. Like I said, if
I thought LeBron James was old too, but he's not.
If the Minnesota fans who bought tickets probably months ago to try to that they get a chance to see him,
they're going to be very upset if he doesn't play.
Yeah. Anyway, they're playing Inter Miami today. They won last week against Austin 3-0, and then they beat Cleveland in the U.S. Open Cup here on Wednesday. They play Saturday, Wednesday, which for soccer is some serious playing.
That's a lot of games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah.
But they're at 5-2-4. They're in second place in the West, and they're the defense that the Loons play, and I'll keep saying it, is amazing. They lock you down. They don't give you anything. And if you can do that, it's not the greatest soccer to watch, Mike Bolstead, right? Nobody likes to watch a 0-0 match. But if you're worried about winning and getting W's, when they put a 0 in the other person's column, that means you can't get an L. The worst you can get is a tie. So.
No, and I've been watching over in England. The soccer over there is getting hot and heavy, and the people are getting very emotional. So it's we don't know about emotion for soccer in this country, at least.
Not like that.
Not like that. So
probably a little bit more about our football than like they do for their football.
Yeah, I agree.
What else you got?
Let me see. Do I have anything else on my card?
I know it seems to be the same show every week, but that's
kind of the way it is with playoffs.
That's what we got to do to talk about it. The teams changed a little bit, but Yeah.
No, we got hockey, we got basketball, we got baseball, we got the Loons. We've
Yeah, the men's World Hockey Championships are going on. I haven't had.
that?
I don't even know. I haven't been able to find time to even sit down and watch it. I know it's on in the morning, so it must be over in Europe someplace.
Did USA? They played last night or the night before?
Yeah, they played yesterday afternoon. I think
Okay.
our time. I think it was at 1 o'clock. Maybe it was Thursday. Like I said, the days are running into each other.
They played Hungary, I believe.
Okay. See.
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously we're coming down to the ends of the spring sports seasons for the local high school teams. We're hosting the IRC track meet on Tuesday. Hopefully we're ready to go, and it'll be crazy. 9 other schools, 10 total with us being there, with the Arrowhead Conference teams coming up as well. So it's going to be a full boat of things going on Tuesday, and we'll.
You're going to get nice weather. It should be a good time. It's
gonna be hot.
I will.
Hot. It's going to be 88. I'm going to be cooking like a crispy. I mean, I might even have to break down and put like suntan lotion on
Yeah,
Tuesday.
you're pretty pale.
Well, and the other thing is we've got a quadruple header of softball on Monday, from starting at noon till probably 7 or 8 o'clock, and then the next day we've got the track meet starting at 2 and probably running till about 8 o'clock. So it's going to be 2 big days. I might be a little cranky by Wednesday.
Crankier, yeah.
Crankier.
Yeah,
Thank you, George.
Yeah, no, you know, the man works like a maniac out there. I mean, and this is the time of year. I mean, I would say that this is even busier than the fall season, because the track team. You don't do a track team in 2 hours. It takes all day. When you're doing multiple softball games and baseball games and things such as that,
long days.
Long days.
Yeah. Well, we'll. Yeah. It is what it is. It's part of the job, right? And
it is.
And I guess the sports is why we do it, right? Because we love the kids being able to compete.
I asked that to Kevin Grover one time. I have no idea why I'm doing all this stuff with sports, and he says, "You can't help it. You love it." And I thought, maybe you're right.
It's true.
I'm going to put in with my family for another widescreen television so I don't miss anything.
I have to admit, it was overtime last night. Hockey game on, but it was time for bed.
It was time for bed.
It was time for bed, and I went, okay, I'm clicking you off, and I walked away, and it was the right choice.
I'm reading an incredible book right now, and it's and so I want to go to bed early because I can get a good half-hour reading before I fall asleep, and so there's some reading to do. Rick Atkinson with his new book, The Light of Faith, and it's story of the American Revolution. Fun to read.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it is.
Well, happy Mother's Day once again, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.